This is Kick-Ass Kyle Storm, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. You like independent wrestling? You like women's wrestling? Hardcore? Shoot interviews? Check out Chop's videos. You'll love what you see.
What's up, guys? Teddy Goods here, and for all of you who are junkies of early 90s independent wrestling, especially from the New England area, I need to let you guys know about Chop's videos on YouTube. I am a subscriber, and I watch his videos frequently. Tons of NEWA stuff, Tony Rumble stuff, CWA, Primal Conflict, just all kinds of hidden gems. A few matches of myself early in my career, so check it out. Chop's videos on YouTube. Have a good one, guys.
That night or tomorrow, you might wake up and go, maybe that, So
Yeah.
let me know if anything like that happens. That's all.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll shoot from the hip.
Most people don't care. I just like saying that because I'm not the type
to harass Rocco. And finally, after probably a couple months, he gave in. He's like, all right, dude, come in, help with the ring. We got a school in this spot. You can come, you can train, but you're not going to wrestle. You're just going to train. And that's how it started.
Who was leading the training at that time?
At that time, the first guy to ever offer to work with me was Anthony. Anthony, from that first time I walked into the office, he took a liking to me and my father, and he was like,
I am the Underground King, SWB, New England Hall of Famer, Test of Strength founder and head coach. Looking for classic wrestling videos featuring New England Hall of Famers and legends? Check out Chop's videos on YouTube.
All right, Joe, I understand Howard Finkel ties into your career pretty well. Let's get into that.
Yes. So I kind of touched on it earlier that, as a kid, rather than a wrestler, an in-ring talent, Howard Finkel was my idol. Howard Finkel was who I looked up to. When I used to play with the wrestling figures as a kid, it was all about the entrance rather than the match. And I would always do the announcements, you know, the whole spiel down the aisle, and it would always be me emulating Howard Finkel to some extent. And forward all these years later, I'm in Pompton Plains, New Jersey, at a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame dinner, which was the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame at that time based out of Amsterdam, New York. They were doing a special dinner run by Irish Terry Gunn. And it was a fundraiser dinner for the hall. And it was in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. I went with my buddy Steve. And there was a meet and greet beforehand. There was a big yard sale with Mick Foley. It was called the Hardcore Yard Sale, I believe. and Howard Finkel was there. And we walk in, and I'll never forget this. You know, me looking up to Howard, I see him there, and I'm like, wow, Howard Finkel, who I had met a couple times as a fan, super quick interaction, maybe just a photo or an autograph as a young kid, you know. So Howard approaches Steve and I, and he says, he goes, hello, Howard Finkel. And he shakes both of our hands, and he goes, where are you guys coming from this evening? And I'm like, kind of just, you know, blown away that I'm standing here talking to Howard, even that far in the game, again, because Howard is somebody I've always looked up to and emulated with the whole ring announcing and everything. And I tell him, well, Steve says he's from Massachusetts. I said, well, I'm from Rhode Island. And he says, well, wait a minute, you must know about the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I was blown away when he said that. I was literally in shock. I couldn't even speak. Steve had to intervene, my buddy Steve, and say, yeah, Joe runs the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I was literally blown away that Howard Finkel knew, you know, all the work that I put into the Hall of Fame. Howard Finkel knew what it was. So that was a big deal for me.
Wow, that's incredible. That must have felt good.
It was an unbelievable feeling. I can't even explain it. And, you know, we chatted a little bit more, and then everybody kind of mingled before dinner. As I go to sit down at a table for dinner, Howard Finkel comes up and he says, Joe, do you mind if I join you? So, so he sits with us. He is also the MC for the evening, but he sits with us, eats dinner, goes up, you know, back and forth to make announcements at the podium, comes back to the table. And in conversation, Howard says to me, he was like, how did he word it? He's like, Joe, if you ever need somebody for the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, as far as a host or announcer, please keep me in mind. And I was blown away. I was just shocked that Howard Finkel is offering his services for my event. And, you know, it was like a dream come true. So of course I'm going to take Howard Finkel. So, you know, we started it up. He came as a super ticket guest early in the day, 2011. It was the first time Howard worked for me. He hosted the Hall of Fame later on that evening, and he would host each and every year. So he was back. We took a little break. We took 2012 off. He came back 2013, hosted it, 2014, 2015. So he became a staple for the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He really put us on the map. He kind of brought us to the next level. Howard Finkel is, you know, such a household sound. You know the voice the second you hear it, and a WWE Hall of Famer. So that was crazy to be able to work with Howard, and not only work with Howard, but become great friends with Howard. We'd have many correspondence, many phone conversations. You know, we would talk weekly. He would call me from his cell or call me from work, and you'd always see it, you know, pop up on the caller ID. Oh man, there he is, Howard. And we became good friends, and he would get me tickets all the time for WWE. But it was a pleasure to know Howard, and you know, we ended up honoring Howard in 2018 at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was already ill, so he could not make it. But we had J.J. Dillon there, who was a good friend of Howard, and he inducted Howard into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and he was also the recipient of the New England Icon Award. And we ended up getting Howard his award before he passed away, thankfully. And I have a picture of him holding it up, and he was just so happy and so gracious.
Oh, that's awesome. One of your idols. And you've met so many people. Who would be like a few of them, like say your top 5 outside of Howard that you were like biggest to meet?
At my events or in general?
Just overall, as a kid, as an adult, out of everybody you've ever met.
Owen Hart. Definitely Owen Hart. He was one of my favorites as a kid. Undertaker. Anybody that knew me as a kid, Undertaker was always my number one. He was my favorite as far as wrestlers go. So when I finally met the Undertaker, that was a really cool experience. And he was a really nice guy. Me and Gene Okerlund, always full of jokes, very witty, super nice guy, loves to make conversation, and got to work with Gene. He ended up working for me in 2015 as a super ticket guest, and he was inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame that year. And the cool thing is he was inducted into the Hall of Fame that year by Howard Finkel. And a few years prior, he inducted Howard Finkel into the WWE Hall of Fame. So he kind of, paid him back. And so that was a really cool to work with Gene. And Gene actually, I announced that I was going to be working on a book project, which I kind of got away from because of real life and everything getting in the way. So I kind of put that to the side, put it on pause, but I was going to be writing a book about the business. And Gene offered to me, I didn't ask Gene, he said, I would love to be a part of your book, and I would love to, maybe do the forward on it or something. And that was enormous. Unfortunately, he passed away before we did anything, but just the fact that he reached out and offered his services was just astronomical,
Oh yeah, that's huge. Gene's a huge. I mean, all the way back to the late '70s. I remember seeing him in 1980 on AWA days.
Yep.
So, how did the Whole Foods thing come about? Was that just something you knew the block party was going on, and you figured you'd put on some shows? You hadn't done shows in so long, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was on the committee for the block party, and we were trying to tie in everything to bring the people in. So we had the rock wall climbing, we had the watermelon eating contest. We got the whole neighborhood involved. We had the whole street blocked off. We had the live DJ. We had the cotton candy machine. We had, tons and tons of vendors and tents. And I said, well, what if we bring pro wrestling? What if we bring a ring, have matches right there in the street or in the parking lot, and it would be for charity, which it was. Anybody who wanted to make donations could. And they were all for it. The store supported me. Whole Foods supported the idea. And it was awesome. I got people from all over willing to work the show. So people came in from Rhode Island and Mass and Connecticut and New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont. I mean, they were coming in from all over. So we had a great showing of support, and they were hot shows. It was 100 degrees both years, 2010 and 2011. They boiled an egg one year on the ring canvas. That's how hot it was. But some great memories, and they were just fun, carefree shows. You know what I mean? They were long shows. They were meant to be long. There were supposed to be matches, to fill up the entire block party throughout the day. So we had probably 10, 12 matches, and it was a 4 or 5 hour event, but they were a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hadn't been to a show in probably 6 years, and I come out of quote unquote retirement to film that show for you. I remember you asked me, and I come down. I had been, and it was hot, man, out there filming. I remember how hot it was.
It was rough. It was, like I said, 100 degrees, and I think they were both in July, both years. But man, couldn't have been a hotter day. Should have done it in the fall, I guess.
And I don't know if you ever wrestled again, but that was supposed to be Kevin Charisma's retirement match. I don't know if you ever ended up retiring after that.
I believe that was it for him. That was his last hurrah. And what I did is I brought a lot of guys from the past, to those shows to kind of do one more run, like Steak Daddy Peter B., who was a referee. He was a manager. He came out of retirement for that block party show, and that was his last show. He retired. Cody Boynes, who used to host the cable show Talkin' Wrestling. He would manage on the indie scene as Mama. He would wear a blonde wig. He was supposed to be an old woman. And, he came out of retirement as Mama on the show. Superstar Butch Petrillo, who had been retired for years, he came out of retirement. Johnny Justice came out of retirement. So Stacy Lopes came out of retirement as Dane. So it was cool to see all these old faces, people that you hadn't seen in a long time. Sandy Starr. And it was also mixed in with a lot of up and coming people. JT Dunn, before he really made a name for himself. Mercedes KV against Taylor Hendricks. Taylor Hendricks went on to TNA, and Mercedes KV went on to be known as Sasha Banks in the WWE. So never know who you're going to see at a Whole Foods block party.
I didn't even realize they were on that. That's the one tape show that I don't have, because I don't have my tape of that. I brought it up to Brandon Webb the other day that he was on it. He didn't even remember it, and I sent him my recording of it, and he's like, you were there? I don't even remember that. I said, yeah, that's the only time I ever remember meeting you. He must have just been starting then.
Brandon Webb's, that would have been 2011 probably. Yeah, I mean, he must have been pretty new at that point.
Not to mention Matt Tavern was there. Vinny Mag, I don't know how to say his last name. Vinny, that's in the ROH now.
Matt Taven. Yeah, there were a lot of faces on there that have really made a name for themselves since then. So yeah, the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the way that started was, I went back to APCW. I was a ring announcer there in 2002, 2003. So I went back in 2008, not just as the ring announcer, but the booker. And we would run shows regularly in Seekonk, Massachusetts, again at the Legion. I would bring in different talents from different areas like I normally would, try to mix it up and bring in new fresh faces. And I wanted to give back to the pro wrestling community. I wanted to give back to the talents. I wanted to showcase the talents that maybe would not get recognized otherwise. So I started the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame at the APCW shows in place of intermission. And it would just go right into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony. We did 3 mini ceremonies in 2008, all at different APCW shows. They were in the ring, and, like I said, they were taking the place of intermission, so they'd be about 15, 20 minutes. And we would induct, people in the center of the ring, give them a certificate at that time. It was still in its infancy. And, El Mascarado went in the first class, and Sandy Starr and Robbie Ellis and Rich Palladino, Walter Killer Kowalski, Posh Mishley. There was a host of others, the Boston Bad Boy, Tony Rumble. You can't have a New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame without Walter Kowalski and Tony Rumble, in my opinion. And it got a lot of great feedback. People were interested in it. And so what I decided to do was turn it into its own event. So in 2009, I ran the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame dinner banquet, and it was its own event. And we had all kinds of talents there. We had the ceremony. We had some guys signing autographs earlier in the day, and it was a huge success. It was jam-packed. So many people came out.
This is Johnny Fabulous, and I just want to let y'all know that you're here with the New England Wrestling Hall of
So we did it again in 2010 and 2011, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger every year, tying in different things and, you know, adding Howard Finkel to the festivities every year. It was just really special. So I've been very happy with New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, everything it's meant. Not only do I, you know, recognize mainstream talents who have been on television, but it also recognizes talents, you know, from an independent level who have put in their time, paid their dues, and just maybe hasn't, you know, climbed the ranks onto a major, you know, becoming a major star, but they've still put in their time and they still have made an impact in the wrestling world. So it's been a great opportunity for me. It's been a great opportunity for a lot of other people. And once this pandemic cools down, we'll get back to it, you know?
Yeah, that 2009 one meet I went to, that's where my picture is from, my profile picture. That and that Whole Foods show, that's the last two wrestling events I've ever been to, anything to do with wrestling.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Well, there were two good ones, so that that is a plus. 2009 was a special year for New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame because that was the first one that was its own event. So, and that was a special night. It really was. And I kind of reunited Anthony Ruffo and Gino Martino, the Millennium Killers, because Gino was being inducted and Anthony inducted him. And at that time, they kind of had an out with each other. They weren't really speaking. I don't know what the falling out was, but they weren't really necessarily talking too much anymore. So by doing this Hall of Fame induction for them, you know, I was kind of able to connect them again, and they mended any issues that they had, and they were able to, you know, just kind of be back to normal. So it was cool that that happened.
Yeah, that's great because they are really close. And isn't it great when something like that happens? Because I've done that on the group I have, and with this documentary, I'm trying to do that with people. Two people just get a hold of each other doing the documentary. They got a hold of each other because they want to talk about each other, and they said they made up because of that, and that's a great feeling.
Wow, that is great. It is. It's a great feeling.
And I've been telling people that's my hopes. I don't want to start heat and people talking about each other. I hope people say, well, I heard this and I heard that. And they go, well, that wasn't true. And then they go, well, that was stupid, us being mad. And then they get over things. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because 90% of the time, that's what it is.
And it's good that you're doing that. I mean, it's a good way to preserve the history of that particular promotion. And, you know, I always enjoy those documentaries, hearing from different people, different aspects about it. And I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Not just the documentary, but I mean, the group I have there where everybody talks. People have found out old issues they had and been like, oh, that was stupid. I thought this happened. That really happened. Oh, that was stupid. You know, just like you just brought up about Gino and Ali, same.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it is. Half the time, it's just a misunderstanding, you know? So it's nice to kind of mend those roads.
You got a quick Ox Baker story?
Man, I don't know if I have an Ox Baker story per se, but.
Or just anything about Ox Baker. What do you got? Tell me about Ox Baker, something about Ox Baker.
All right. Ox Baker, my goodness. He's a New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, you know, inducted in 2009 class. He's a movie star. Escape from New York. One of the most crazy characters, out there. But under all of that, such a nice guy, one of the nicest guys. But you see him walking his little poodle or whatever he had, before the shows. You see him walking his little dog. Totally uncharacteristic of Ox Baker. Ox Baker's a killer, and here he is walking a little white poodle or whatever he had. I remember he was doing an interview for me in 1998. I'm interviewing him, and a little kid is walking in between us, just walking by, and he literally goes to swat the kid out of the way. Get the hell out of the way. I mean, he did not care if he was going to connect or not. At my fan fest, he was there every year. He was like a staple. He was there 2010. He was there 2011, 13. He couldn't make it because his flight wasn't going to make it in time, unfortunately. And then because he was coming from Texas that time, because he was already out at a convention. And then 2014, he was back with us. That was his last time with us, unfortunately, before he passed away. But Ox Baker is a staple in New England. He's a cornerstone. He's always, for so many years, at all the shows in New England, and always such a nice guy. But to the fan, he was just probably insane. People are probably like, who is that guy? If they didn't know him from, his wrestling career or his movie. But he was pretty awesome. He was a good guy. And at the fan fests, he was always waiting for the food. It was all about the food. Like, what time does the pizza get here? He was he was so excited about little small things like that. Like, what time's the pizza getting there? What kind of pizza we having? But good guy. And Peggy Ann, his wife who passed away, she was also very nice to us.
You must have seen clips of the riots, the famous Ox Baker riots
Oh,
in
yeah.
the 60s.
Absolutely, I've watched that. Oh yeah, chaos.
There's a bunch of them.
Insane.
Everybody's like sees the one and they're like, "Oh, I've seen that." It's like, no, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I've seen 2 or 3. I think I've seen 3 of them that were different, but I don't know how many there actually are out there. But Ox Baker stirred the pot, that's for sure.
And have you ever seen him when he, like, in the 60s, how jacked he was, like in the movie I Like to Hurt People and stuff, how big he was? He was ripped.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. I actually have some young pictures of him too in my promo photo collection. Looks totally different. You would never know. He had like no eyebrow, no crazy eyebrows. He had no beard, but no mustache.
He was huge, like huger than anybody I've seen in that time.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a big guy. He was very big. I think he was 6'7".
Yeah, but I mean, ripped, like muscular. His shoulders and traps and stuff were so big. The first time I seen him, I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah. Yeah, he's changed, over the years, but I know what you're talking about. I've seen older pictures of him where he was ripped, just thick, massive.
Then he talked, and I was like, "Oh, it's Ox Baker."
Yeah. Yep. Certainly gives it away.
Well, all right, Joe. I think I've kept you long enough. I really appreciate this.
Oh, absolutely. I thank you. I had a good time. Nice reminiscing. And like I said, could always do a part 2. We got enough to at least fill another hour, half hour,
Yeah, I'm all for that. Let's do the primal thing, and we can do a second one. I'm all for it. I could even hold this, do a second one, and then edit them together if you want to do something like that. So from up, what's going on now or future? Let's talk about present day and future.
So right now I'm working heavily with Think Inc. signatures, helping them out from a talent relations aspect of things, booking talent for them. Nick Christie is a good friend of mine. He's the owner of Think Inc. Signatures. What they specialize in is virtual autograph signings, and that's what it's become because of COVID. Fans can tune in live on Facebook, or a virtual autograph session, and that person can sign 8x10s. They can sign merchandise that they have available during the signing, or the fan ahead of time can send in their own merchandise to be signed. But you can watch it live on Facebook, and they can sign it to your liking. And it's just a cool opportunity, a little Q&A in there as well. And, at first it replaced an in-person autograph session, which, there's nothing like meeting the person face to face, of course. But this has been a cool experience because it's opened up the doors to getting more eyes on it. So now, instead of running an autograph session in Massachusetts, say, just as an example, and you have X amount of fans there, well, now you're doing it online. Now the whole world can tune in. So now people are tuning into these things from literally other countries, and they can order autographs. So it's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun booking the guests. We've had coming up, we have Mr. Hughes, Curtis Hughes. We have Bushwhacker Luke coming up. We have the Godwins. We have Cloudy of the Body Donnas, Axe and Smash, the Demolition. We have the Warlord and the Barbarian, the Powers of Pain. Charlie Min, former WWF announcer. Cherry, former WWE diva. So we've got a great mix of talent, all different names coming in. So been very busy with that, promoting that, helping them out with that, booking talent for that. So that's kept me busy during the time that I'm unable to, run the Fan Fest or run the Hall of Fame. So the 2020 class was canceled due to COVID. So I'm planning on running another Hall of Fame ceremony and smaller scale Fan Fest in 2023. And that's going to be returning to East Providence, Rhode Island. The 2020 class will be inducted on that evening with a handful of others added to it since we've had some time. So probably another 6 inductees or so on top of that.
Okay, and then you'll just do that each year probably to make up for the couple years in between.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll keep me busy, and working with Think Inc. That's been a lot of fun for me to get back involved on that aspect with all the booking and everything, and see where things take us. I've got a big revamp scheduled for my website, allaccessentertainment.com. So we're gonna rehaul that and get it all fancied up and really go in depth with the Hall of Fame section, and hopefully get back to events in person, because I'm used to going to Comic Cons and interviewing talents and creating new content for the YouTube page. So looking forward to getting back to some level of normalcy sometime soon.
So is it safe to say you're all done announcing and booking wrestling shows?
Yeah, the HWF is definitely done. 2011, that was the final show. And that's why I knew it was then. And that's why I brought in so many old faces, kind of, a reunion of sorts, but a farewell. And then ring announcing is a passion, obviously, for me, and always has been. But yeah, I've kind of moved on from that. I was young when I was ring announcing. I'm going to be 40 years old next year. Not old by any means, but WWE doesn't want a 40-year-old ring announcer. So, maybe someday I'll do one more show, but yeah, I'm done with the ring announcing. Although I have a passion for announcing in general, so I would certainly be open to doing voiceover work, because I can do a lot of unique voices, strange voices, funny voices, announcing voices, and people have always told me to do something with that, voiceover work or commercials. So who knows? Maybe something will happen down the road with that.
Have you ever done much with commentary, like calling matches, anything like that? Color guy, anything like that?
A little bit here and there at shows, but not necessarily my take. Really, I'm not super into it.
It was funny. I was just talking to Rich Palladino the other day on Facebook, and he said the same thing. He had a tryout for WWE, I guess, and he knew walking in there as soon as they seen him, he's not his type. You know, visually wise, he wasn't their type. He said.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they're looking for, very young people. They're looking for, they're looking for female announcers for the most part. But the male announcers that they do have are younger talents. You know what I mean? So they're looking for a 25-year-old or a 20-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the seams of it, they don't even have to be wrestling fans or know wrestling knowledge for the most part.
No, they can just come right in and, learn it from there. But no, there doesn't really have to be much of a background.
Gordon
It's all
Soley
about
would not be getting a job today.
Gordon Soley. No, probably not. I don't think so. One of the greatest of all time, though, for sure.
So, Joe, all your years in the business and around the business, you have to have some good road stories.
Oh yeah, there's been lots of trips all over New England. I guess the biggest one that comes to mind, the most funny, Mr. Biggs. I used to travel with Mr. Biggs a lot. Michael James was his name. He passed away, unfortunately, 2009, 2010. He would usually be the guy driving the ring. So we'd be in a U-Haul often and, get to the show real early. But I would always get to the shows real early anyway, so that's the perfect person to go with. So we'd be traveling. Some of the best parts of pro wrestling is after the show. A lot of the boys would get together and go to Denny's, Bickford's. It would be a tradition, But there was this one time where we were in the U-Haul. I was riding in the front, in between Mr. Biggs and his wife, Chris James, who unfortunately just passed away this past month. I'm sitting in between them in the front, and in the back of the U-Haul with all the ring equipment, Mr. Biggs' dad and I want to say Dan Badandi and Spencer, who was one of the ring crew guys, were all in the back of the truck illegally. Obviously, you can't do that. And the truck broke down in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere. It was pitch black out. It was kind of a chill in the air. It wasn't hot out, but there were mosquitoes everywhere. And they opened the back of the U-Haul to, once we stopped, and everybody got out. And it was always like a carnival with that family. Like Mr. Big's dad's quite a eccentric person. What do you mean? What are you talking about? What are we doing? That's how he talked. And it was just always chaos. We could have been a reality show for sure. And we're sitting there on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. This is like before cell phones. And I forgot I think we walked to a convenience store that was in a plaza that was way down the road, and they weren't open when we first broke down. We had to wait quite some time. And I think I called my mom from a payphone. My mom came to the rescue actually and came and picked me up. Thank God, because that was just a miserable experience sitting out there. It was freezing cold, mosquitoes everywhere, nowhere to go. And here comes my mom, picks me up, drove all the way to wherever we were. I told her what town we were in, and she somehow figured out where I was. So that was pretty intense. It was another time we were in the U-Haul, and because of the weight of the ring and the weight in the front of the truck of Mr. Biggs and his wife, we got stuck on a hill. The bottom of the truck was grinding up against the pavement. We couldn't move forward or back up. So always an experience with the Big family. But you know, I cherish those moments. They're some funny moments.
That was their ring, wasn't it? That was used at a lot of them shows with the red ropes.
It was, yeah, it was the ring for WCWA. It was his promotion, and before that, it was known as the IWA. But yeah, that was his ring.
I just remember we would say it's Big's ring when they'd use it. Wasn't it lower than the other rings or something? They'd use it in all the low ceiling places.
Yeah, like the Legion and Seekonk, that ring, I don't know if that particular one was Big's. That one might have been either Anthony Rufo or Blackheart, if I remember correctly.
It's funny, your last show in Seekonk there, the Thanksgiving Meltdown 2, where Vert and Padula did that barbed wire match.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last show that you had there. I was working nights at that one. That was the only match that I never filmed for New England Independence and the Chop Cam. I had to pass the camera to Ed. I helped wrap the ropes and barbed wire, and I had to leave and go to work.
Oh, man, that sucks. That's terrible.
Yeah, I got the film from Ed the next day. I was like, I missed this, like all this. And then he carried the camera around downstairs and got all them promos and all that. I missed all that.
Oh, man, I didn't even realize that. That's crazy. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's the only thing out of
another-
all that footage I got that I didn't film myself.
Well, at least you got the footage. At least Ed was still able to be there.
Right. At least he was there to film it. It would have stunk if I had to leave and not, not film it.
Oh, yeah. I think there was one other thing. I'm just looking now.
Well, do you got anything you'd like to plug? Throw out your websites, throw out whatever you need here.
So you can check out my YouTube page, which is All Access Entertainment, and that's access with 2 X's. All Access Entertainment on YouTube. Got over 800 videos. Lots of stuff to look at. Interviews with celebrities, wrestler interviews, tons of matches, lots of videos about collectibles and promo photos, trading cards, you name it. So definitely a lot of cool stuff to check out on there. Of course, we're New England Fan Fest on Facebook. You could visit our Facebook page, New England Fan Fest. We have another Facebook page, All Access Entertainment with 2 X's, just like the website. And we have a third Facebook page, New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So you can reach us at any of those. Any upcoming events will be posted on all of those. They'll be streamlined. So
Keep an eye out for any New England Hall of Fame stuff coming up in the future, and any of them autograph. What do you call them? The online autographs.
oh yeah, the virtual signings. We're always posting those on there as well.
And them are pretty consistent, right? You do them pretty often, it seems.
Yeah, we're doing 2 weekends a month. So usually 3 to 4 talents a month.
Okay, and they're always big talents from what I see. The names, big names that everybody knows.
Exactly. Powers of Pain, Demolition, Bushwhacker Luke. And then we go for some obscure names like the Godwins and Clarence Mason and Charlie Min, former WWF announcer, Claudia the Body Donnas. So we try to have a good mix of everybody. We've had Adam Baum, we've had Crystal Marshall, Cherry, former WWE diva. So definitely a good mix. Glacier from WCW.
Jimmy Shoulders. I always got to throw that in there when somebody says Cloudy.
Oh, yes. Jimmy Shoulders, another ECW alumni.
Yeah, I always think of him from down south when he was doing his southern stuff.
Yeah, he's done a lot, actually. He's had a good run.
Do you feel like there's anything we missed that should be covered? That don't you also do celebrities and stuff with your signings and stuff?
I mean, not really. I interview celebrities at the Comic Cons.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking. I know I've seen celebrities posted on there. It's usually the interviews.
Yeah, I interview them at the different events.
All right. Well, I wanted to throw that on there. That on your page isn't all wrestling; it's mostly wrestling, but there's also some celebrity stuff on there also.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's tons of celebrity interviews on there. There's a whole playlist of just the celebrities.
That sounds perfect. Let's do the whole career of Joe Bruen. Let's get it all.
Cool, man. Awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you, Joe. I'll stay in contact. Let's talk Friday.
All right, man. Will do.
You have a good night.
You too, brother.
This is the Puerto Rican Punisher Vega telling you to check out Chop's videos on YouTube. He's got the best collection of classics in New England wrestling and professional wrestling in general. So go ahead, subscribe, give him a follow, give him a like, and hit the bell notification so that you get the latest videos when they drop. Y no te olvides que guste o no te guste, Chop Videos, esa es la que hay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Toxic Tommy Knoxville, and you're watching the best of the New England Independents.
Man, I don't want to hurt me now. Good job, son. Yeah.
Well, well, well. Here we are. Again. 15, 20 years later. Talking about primal conflict. You know what? Let me give you my better side. Chopper, you've been putting on a lot of videos. Quite a few of mine. I appreciate that. I like that. In all seriousness, Chopper, you're the man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yo, man,
And
you see
know
Vert?
Vert?
I can't find Vert.
Vert? Wait a
Who
second.
was this about?
Wait,
Oh, is this the Chopper?
This is the Chopper video.
Oh,
dude,
my
you're
bad.
cutting in on this?
My bad.
Oh, dude, that's okay. That's okay.
damn.
You know what?
Hold up. I'm sorry. Hold up.
Let's go get Vert on the phone. Oh, no, you know what? Let's do this now.
Let's be a lot easier if we did this way. Listen, Chop, you're doing a lot of good stuff, man. Primal Conflict coming at you straight up. This is how we do things. You know what? It was always something different, something on the cuff. And Primal Conflict was just that. So as you see the two of us here together, there is more of this coming along. So for you, everybody out there watching, be ready. There's a lot more independence on his way.
Don't just look
Fine,
for
Bert.
that. Look for everything. Because not only is Chopper putting on the best, he's putting on not only the best, the pinnacle. Again, the pinnacle. One more time. The pinnacle.
Hey, the burgers are burning.
The burgers are burning? Dude, Chopper, peace. I gotta go eat. Have